Friends, if you're looking for real old school laughs, you're in for a treat because we've got them right here. Flip City Magazine. Remember Mad Magazine? Then it went woke? Well, don't worry. Flip City has no chance of going woke. That's right. 4 times a year, you'll get an actual printed magazine full of jokes, stories, comics, and more, all about today's pop culture, entertainment, and woke politics. Flip City takes terrible entertainment trends we love to hate with hilarious parodies of Lord of the Rings, Stranger Things, The Walking Dead, Star Trek, Hunters, and more. Trust me when I say there is nothing else like Flip City on the market. So subscribe today. It will be delivered in print, or you can even get it digitally if you're one of those wacky Zoomers. Either way, follow our link and sign up today, and if you put in midnight, you get an extra 10% off. Check out Flip City Magazine today.
Entertainment news today. It's such a dragon game. Everything sucks and it's no good. That comes out of Hollywood. But there's one place you can go to get all your news and info, and maybe even have a laugh or two. You know it's true. Midnight Edge after dark is life. We'll stand for nerds and geeks, we will survive. From Star Wars to Jurassic Park, it's Midnight Edge after dark. All those bombs and flops, but MEAD never stops. We will keep going through the night as we keep up the culture fight. Midnight's Edge after dark is life. We stand for nerds and geeks, we will survive. From Star Wars to Jurassic Park, it's Midnight's Edge after dark.
Tonight's special guest, Valiant Renegade. Midnight's Edge After Dark Live is filmed in front of a live studio audience. As always, we do it for Clobby. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you enjoy our new intro tonight. We got Valiant Renegade here. We got Nick Weiser in the house. How you doing, Nick?
I'm doing good. Happy to be here. Obviously, this Wicked movie feels like it's been one of those movies, even if people like it, I feel like the whole stuff around it is going to be even more memorable than the movie itself. And I can't wait to hear more about it because this is getting better and better. Hello, chat. Yes. Hello, panel.
We also have Price of Reason. How you doing?
Good. How's it going?
I forgot to ask Valiant how he was doing, but he was taking a nap before the show, so he must be doing pretty good.
I'm good. Was I Sam Neill in that intro?
Yes.
Okay, that was cool. I'll take it.
You didn't see that? I shared that picture with you. You must not have saw it.
I guess no. I guess I didn't see it.
Yeah, I threw it in. I think the Flashcast.
Oh, there's like 8,000 messages a day in Flashcast.
I know. I probably got lost.
Missed 90% of them, unfortunately.
Yes, Scribelight helped me put some of those images together. So yeah, thanks to him. But yes, indeed. We also have CC with us. How you doing?
Doing all right. Been back on the work grind, earning some money so that I can afford things. And it's nice to sort of kick back after that here with a drink and enjoy some.
Just got off the Millennium Falcon with Nick Weiser, it looks like.
Yeah, he's a hairy beast.
Yes, indeed. And of course, we got a lot to talk about. So we're going to kick things off tonight with this Wicked news because I happened to catch this earlier, although it's starting to make the rounds now, but we dropped a video a bit ago. They have pulled the Wicked toys from the shelves, kids, at least the ones with the wrong website on the back, that is. So for those who are not up to speed on what the hell is going on here,
Wasn't it all of them? Like all the dolls, all the Mattel? Yeah.
mainly Mattel's. I mean, there was other things like the Lego sets and some of the other stuff didn't even have the website on them. Some of the
Right. No,
ladies said.
everything that I thought that was Mattel, because it would have
pretty
been
much anything Mattel. Yeah,
theoretically the same copy would have been written on the back of every package. So
yeah. So there was like deluxe dolls and just standard dolls from Mattel that I believe were affected. Is my understanding, and they were outside of the U.S. as well. So there was like Australia's already confirmed, and a couple other places that they've had them pulled. So what I was told was they are pull and holding them for now. So what this means is either they're going to go back to Mattel and they're going to get a new fresh batch with brand new printing on them,
doubt it.
or they're going to have somebody from Mattel probably come in and put stickers on. But the fucked up part is this is all happening a week and a half before the movie drops. Actually, almost like literally a week before the movie drops. And a week and a half before Black Friday weekend, right? As we all know, is the busiest shopping year or weekend of the year in the U.S. So Valiant, since you're our main guest tonight, what's your take on it? Because you actually were one of the first people to discover this.
Yeah. I think Jonas had sent it to me, and then talking about it over the weekend, and Stephanie posted a picture. She's like, "Oh my God, my toys have porn on it." And yeah, I sent it into the Flashcast chat. Actually, I think I sent it into the Flashcast chat. Was it right after? I think it was right after Jonas told me. And Flash kind of got mad at me at first. He's like, "What are you doing posting porn in the private chat?" I'm like, "Look at it, look at it." He's like, oh my God. So yeah. That's cool. I don't know. Look, I think the hold is the key part. Fortunately, the defect on the product is something that could very easily be corrected with a sticker, right? Mattel is going to have to go on their dime and print up a bunch of stickers, send them out to, either Target and have Target distribute them to their various stores, or probably
like Walmart and Target and any other box stores,
Amazon, anybody that had them. So I mean, like if you got to print up, tens of thousands of stickers, you've got to distribute them to each individual retail location, Amazon or whatever else, anywhere. It's like, hey, if you got a warehouse, tell us how many you've got in the warehouse. We're going to send you, you got 1,000 toys. We're going to send you 1,000 stickers, and somebody in there is going to have to go in and stick all these things. I mean, there's no way Mattel doesn't have the personnel themselves to send out to 1,000 different Target locations.
But you would think that you'd almost have to do something to verify the shit's getting done. But I hear you. It's like, this is almost insurmountable, but that's their only option, I think, at this point. And I think Universal was the one who put the hammer down. It seemed like Mattel was just like, oh, just disregard it.
Well, if they even realized how, what had happened before everybody noticed it. But what happened, obviously, was when it went viral all over the internet, that suddenly somebody realized.
Well, that's when they found out.
Right.
So, okay. So that's the story here, kids. So I can't remember which influencer first found it, which led its way to Jonas and so on down the road that we found out about it. But Mattel did put out a statement over the weekend. And their initial statement was just basically, disregard the boxes, like throw them away. This ain't the one I was looking for. Which one was I looking for? I had the actual quote from Mattel. Oh, here it is. Mattel was made aware of the misprint on the packaging of Mattel Wicked Collection dolls primarily sold in the U.S., which intended to direct consumers to the official wickedmovie.com landing page. The company said in a statement to outlets, "We deeply regret this unfortunate error and are taking immediate action to remedy this. Parents are advised that the misprinted, incorrect website is not appropriate for children. Consumers who have the product are advised to discard the product and packaging, not the product, just the packaging, or obscure the link and may contact Mattel customer service for further information."
Right.
So that was their initial reaction to this. So now, to me, it sounds like somebody had a meeting yesterday, because then it came out that they were going to pull them yesterday.
Yeah, and not necessarily recall them, but have retailers remove them from sale, meaning pull them off the shelf, put them in the warehouse, and await further instructions. Now, we don't know what those are going to be yet, but you're right. The movie comes out like now, right? Is it this week or next week?
The 22nd is when it opens wide, but I think there's already going to be fan event
Right.
screenings coming up this weekend or this week early. So yeah,
People are looking for the toys.
Price,
We're
you're
getting
the one
into
who
the
usually gets
shopping
it.
season.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think I'm going to see it a day earlier, maybe on the Wednesday or something like
I
that.
say you usually get into the earlier screenings. Yeah.
Right.
Speaking as somebody who always took the stickers off of everything, sticker would not protect me from the Wicked thing on the back, and I would totally go visit the website after I peeled the sticker off of the box.
Well, you would think what they're going to do is when they send them a sticker, it's going to have the same copy that's in that portion of the box, right? It's going to have universal copyright, made by Mattel, this address, this phone number, and the Wicked movie. Whatever that little section of copy was on the back of the box, they'll make a sticker big enough to slap right over it with the same information on it, but obviously with the website listed correctly as wickedmovie.com. And that should be the end of it. It sounds like a simple fix. It's certainly the cheapest way to go, but it's the logistics of having, we don't know how many.
Yeah, my guess it'll be an
thousands and
extremely
thousands of
adhesive sticker.
toys.
Or
Yeah.
maybe they'll even have to tell them to scratch off the other one first and then
I
put the
don't
sticker
know if they'll
on.
have
But
to
yeah.
go that far. I think as long as they take a reasonable approach to what is probably or was an honest mistake. Somebody didn't do their job. They didn't read it right. And the people checking it didn't realize that, they just said, oh, it says Wicked, it's fine. They didn't check it against, whatever the original copy was that would have come from Universal Studios with all of the information listed on it. Somebody just screwed up at Mattel. But they can make a pretty easy fix. It just depends on, how long does it take? Can they get it fixed in 5 days? Can they get it fixed in a week? Before they can get these things back onto the shelves. Hopefully they don't have to leave the stores they're at. They can stay right where they are. Perfectly viable products, except for one unfortunate mistake on the back.
Well, I got to ask, let's start with Nick, because you got an actual kid this age.
Yes.
Is your kid actually interested in this film? And
My two girls at 11 or 9 are not really, they're not really into this. Now, my girlfriend actually, she was in drama and theater. She actually was a big fan of the play. She goes to a lot of the Broadways, and she caught this, so she was really invested initially in this movie. But since she has seen the behavior of Cynthia Erivo, it really put her off. And she was initially one of those people who was like pretty hyped for the movie, and now like her interest is just like, wow, really? So my kid's unaffected by this, but it definitely sucks for my girlfriend initially wanting to see this, and now she couldn't give a shit less. So yeah, Wicked is reaping what they sow. So yeah, I have no sympathy for them. Granted, I know this part with this toy thing is obviously an unintentional error, but everything they're doing is causing a domino effect from their initial action of Erivo. So hey, you reap what you sow.
Yeah.
So this has also been a boost for Wicked, not the movie, but the website, which has seen about 12,000 times more traffic than it has in years. Now, this, of course, Wicked website is the launching pad for people like Axel Braun and Jenna Jameson and, of course, Stormy Daniels. And, of course, Axel Braun, as you know, is most well known for porn parodies of superhero films. Well, that's what Wicked specializes in, is porn parodies. So as Andre and I have been pointing out over the last few days, and I'm sure many others have, if they aren't shooting a porn parody of Wicked right now to get it in, get it on their website sooner than shit,
Oh, God.
then they are dumb.
That is going to be a lot of green body paint and a very messy set after.
We'll finally get an answer to the age-old question, though.
Oh, no, don't do it.
I've done it everywhere else, so why not?
Oh, okay.
Well, they already do have a Wizard of Oz one. I don't know if, yeah. But yeah.
I mean, yeah, look.
Talk about karma, though.
Yeah, it is.
It feels like this is the PR they deserved.
Yeah, so what's your feeling on this, Price?
I have a feeling that this is really embarrassing. And like I said, when the type of people that are involved in it have that type of nonsense like this Cynthia Erivo, it creates a certain bad vibe and bad energy. You could say it's a coincidence, but somehow, I don't know, poetic justice, I don't know what. This is what they deserved.
CC?
I mean, like if I was a disgruntled employee, I might just accidentally forget that it's Wicked movie. Or I might just have, if I was overworked and I was overtired, I might just forget too. There's a lot of ways that it could have happened. I'm
It could have come
amused.
from Universal, but somebody should have checked this shit. I mean, that's the thing.
Well, yeah, that is
we got
true,
Steph in
right?
the
It's like,
chat.
you would think there are several people who should look at this before it ever gets to print.
Yeah.
And then yet that none of that ever happened. Everyone just like, yep, wicked.com. That's the Wicked, this movie. Then you have to ask yourself, well, did nobody ask the question that wickedmovie.com is a little bit too close to a porn site in the first place?
You would
I don't
think that
people
that
are
would
gonna
be
think that hard either.
Well, I mean, honestly,
Eh.
look, I see where CC's coming from, and he makes a good point. And Steph, I'm sending you the link. We're only going to talk about this a little bit longer, and we got some other stuff to discuss. I don't know if you want to bop in here if you got the time, but feel free. If
I
you
do
can.
have
No pressure if you can't,
one
but,
strange development. I don't know if I should say it or not, but
well, go ahead. I was just going to say real quick, like I think that the fact that it is that kind of a name, and CC's making a good point. This is something that should have been at the top of their list to make sure that they got right in the first place. But anyway, Price, you were saying, sorry.
This could be unrelated to anything, and it's something on a rare occasion. I'm just going to say something that I'm sort of on a list that sometimes I get information from agents in Hollywood, and I got an email today from Cynthia Erivo's agent. Now, to say that I got an email, it's not like personally they're all like thinking of me, but I'm on a list that when these type of emails go out, I'm on them. And it said that they were looking for corporate events to book Cynthia Erivo. I don't know if that's just a coincidence or why they're suddenly looking for corporate events to book her. I just thought it was
probably
weird
because
that
she's got to promote the movie this week. That's probably mainly why, I would imagine, wouldn't it?
I guess, but this was more like if you have like Microsoft and you want her to perform at your event. I mean, if you want,
like private-ish, not completely. I get what you're saying. Okay,
I could share this with you if you want. I could share with you what I have, but only if you think it's appropriate.
Just share the info. You don't have to actually show us anything. I don't want to get anybody in like trouble or anything.
Okay. Let me read it.
Yeah.
I could send you the real one if you want. I mean, is it such a crime?
You can, as long as it doesn't have anything that'll like dox anybody who sent it.
No, I don't think it does. Let me send it to you.
Cool.
Okay.
But CC, yeah, so did you have anything more to say on this?
No, and now I'm just even more curious about Price's real identity because we keep getting these little tidbits of information.
He is like
super
the most
powerful
interesting man in the world, or something like that.
He really is. Price, like it feels like it's like we're not just around the price of reason. It's like we're around like a character or like a persona. He's like this mystifying like human being. I love it. It's like we're around like a fictional character. It's great, but he's real.
He's got such a distinct voice. I can't believe somebody hadn't figured out who he was yet.
Yeah, I actually was kind of surprised about that as well. But I guess I'm not that important. But how do I share?
They just share at the bottom of the screen. Present.
Okay, so
or you can just send it to me in X or something.
Okay.
You actually called it X. I'm impressed.
Open image in new tab. Okay, I got it. I'm sharing.
I've actually been trying to. I'm actually making a valiant effort to do that.
Oh, you're sharing it. Okay.
Okay, this is what I got today. It could be just a coincidence, but here you go.
Okay, so it's really small, but it says Grammy and award-winning actor, singer, and producer, an Academy Award Golden nominee, and SAG nominee. How many more things can we add to that? Taking on the iconic role of Elphaba, Cynthia Erivo. Can you zoom in on it at all? Or
can we not zoom in on that?
Yeah, true.
No, go ahead.
Parts.
Is that a picture of her or an action figure?
That's a picture of her.
Tell. Oh shit.
Okay, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's just yeah, that's weird. Is she that desperate for money?
It looks like a doll. Looks like plastic.
That's Tinkerbell from Pinocchio.
It's part one of two movies. Why are they?
Fairy Godmother, was that it? Yeah, not.
Oh, you didn't know that? Yeah, we've been saying about that.
Oh,
for a while.
I thought that I was going to only have to suffer through one movie. There's two of them.
No, they stretched it out into like 2-3 hour films.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we don't know how much the second one is going to be yet, but the first one's like almost 3 hours.
And then, but the whole idea is available for corporate and private events. I mean,
yeah,
It could be just innocent, you know what I mean? The movie is coming out and they're just trying to make a few dollars. It could be. I just thought it was just kind of strange with how sort
I
of
thought maybe it was just like a booking thing. I didn't realize it was for private event, because that's where they actually ask you, like, you have to pay her for like performances and shit.
right.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this is just my 2 cents, and it's not like, you know, anything scientific. There have been artists that, you know, alongside their big tours or whatever they have, they also do this kind of thing. But sometimes, from my experience, I've seen that maybe when other stuff isn't coming in, or you know, they're thinking the usual channels aren't bringing as much money as we'd hope, they kind of go this other route, maybe a private event, maybe a corporate event. And a lot of times, private and corporate event, there's a lot of money in that. So they can keep the client happy. They can, you know, make a few dollars themselves. And, you know, it could be a banging on the iron while it's hot or whatever it is. It just kind of
Well,
seems strange to me that the PR
actually,
with her is so terrible.
I don't think it has anything to do with the toys necessarily, but I will say this. You got to think about it. They shot the initial film of this, and I think they shot both parts back to back, if I'm not mistaken. It's been almost 2 years ago. And then they went back for reshoots for a while. So I'm assuming, I don't know how they get paid in Hollywood, if they get paid up front or if they get paid after the fact or what. So maybe she is hurting for cash right now.
It
Well,
could be.
usually
It could
a
be.
lot of these I mean, you get to this point and they're all like, you can, if you're the Sultan of Brunei and you want to pay Beyonce $20 million to come out and do a private event for your 16-year-old's birthday party, you can.
Or like
So-
basically they were doing during the the Democratic shit with all
Exactly. So I mean, that's all this is. This isn't anything new. I mean, the actors will have, you know, their agents that part of what they do is they'll have, hey, you want to have, you know, this individual come in and do a private event. It's going to cost you a lot of money. It's not going to, you know, not going to pay Beyonce money for this, but you know, it's going to cost you something. They'll come in, they'll do
I
private
bet you she
events.
gets a few grand per
I
appearance,
guess what
Oh, I'd probably say at least that.
I guess what I'm trying to say is I've never received one for her before, as far as I can remember. I don't remember ever getting an email of her being pitched. As far as how much she gets, I wouldn't be surprised with the type of, you know, agency she has. They'd probably ask between 50 to 100 grand.
That wouldn't surprise me.
That's my opinion. I mean, sometimes they can get greedier, or sometimes maybe the artist really wants money. So maybe it's a situation where somebody is willing to do something for 25 grand, or if they're really greedy and it's a big, like, you know, event with a lot of sponsors and stuff, they'll want, like, you know, 150 or 200
Sure.
grand.
Depends
but-
on the size of the event. If it's a non-for-profit event, if it's a for-profit event like a corporation throwing it on,
Right.
she's going to get more money right now, as would like Ariana Grande, because they're about to be in what's probably going to be one of the biggest films of the year, you would think.
Right. And
so
maybe
a year from now, 2 or 3 years from now, she might not get that. You know, 6 months ago, 8 months ago, she's not going to get what she's getting right now in November.
right.
Yeah.
So it could be just a marketing strategy. I don't know. I just thought it was amusing that amongst all the weird things that were happening, I suddenly got this email, and I'd never gotten one before. I had considered responding and asking how much, but I figured that maybe I'm involving myself too personally here, so I just didn't do that. But I was, I had considered asking how much money it would cost.
Mm-hmm.
Do it.
Maybe I'll consider it.
Seriously, let's find out how much it costs to get her.
All right, let me think about it.
Don't think about it, just do it. All right, well, let's see what you guys are talking about out there. We got Goddess of Women in the house who says, this reminds me of when my 8th grade history teacher told us to go to whitehouse.com, not whitehouse.gov. Oh, that's right, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when that happened to me while I was in
Same
7th
here.
grade when that happened. I'll
I
never
remember
forget.
hearing about that. Yeah.
No, I was in 8th grade too.
Whoopsie.
Right, for real. I would have never thought. I mean, in all fairness, it's not something that would have crossed my mind, even though I knew what it was at the time. Even though that was in the age of AOL and dial-up. I think I didn't find out from a teacher. A friend in class said, "Hey, go look at this website actually," and the screen actually worked. I was like, "What the? I gotta get rid of this before teacher sees." Which I got rid of, but man, that was a scary 30 seconds. Really scary.
We had
Jason
those
Webb-
computers that were like buried behind, like it was a desk, and under the glass desk was the computer, so you couldn't actually see the screen unless you were hovering over top of it. So it made it really easy for everybody to just go to White House, like the porn site, and everyone was just on it. The teacher couldn't catch everybody all at once.
Jason Webster says with an Australian $5 reduce, and thank you, got us win for the 5, by the way. Another day, another public relations marketing disaster for Wicked. Yeah, I know, right? It's like they can't get away from it. ActionCom sends in 5 and says, Valiant, what do you think of that Dirty Angels trailer? Who knew the final chapter on the war and tear or needed a woman's touch?
I don't know what that is. I hate to say.
Okay, so what this is a fake story set during the Afghanistan war about these women who go in and be all boss, kick-ass women.
Okay.
That's what it is.
So it's a real movie, or is it?
It's a real movie, but it's not based on any true story or anything.
Oh, I see. Okay. Don't know anything about it. I guess I'll have to go check that out because it sounds like I'll laugh at it.
Probably.
Yeah.
It's like 355, but military.
Okay.
Jason Webster, not that fun though looking. Jason Webster sends in 5 Australian dollars and says, now showing from Disney, something wicked comes to toy stores. Yeah. Too bad this isn't Disney. That'd be funny. And Mr. Buttcrack's been here for 29 months. Thank you for that, Mr. Buttcrack. And on that note, one of the main reasons I asked Valiant here today is Paramount might be the deal with Skydance might be coming to a screeching halt, at least a temporary one, as they face a major Paramount shareholder wants to challenge the Skydance deal and wants some more info. So what can you tell us about this, Valiant? What's going on here, since this is kind of in your domain?
You know, I think I talked about this months ago when the whole Skydance thing was going down, and then they made a proposal, and then it looked like it was a go, and then it wasn't a go because Sherry Redstone backed out, and then in came these other offers from, what was it, Apollo for like 14, 15 million.
Sony had one, but then they backed out.
Well, Sony had, I think they backed out because something looked wrong. They weren't going to entertain anybody but what they were getting from Skydance. And lo and behold, they went and turned around and they did the deal with Skydance. And the question was, well, wait a minute. You know, we saw all these other pretty robust cash offers, 14, 15 million from Apollo. I think almost double that, 20-something billion from Sony, or maybe that was part of the Apollo one. And there was a couple of other deals out there that seemed a lot more lucrative and for a lot of cash and the assumption of debt and everything else that was out there. And it was like, wait, what happened with this deal? The problem with Paramount is that they're a little bit different in the sense that, if you buy Disney or you buy Warner Brothers, generally speaking, everything that you're trading out there in the public market, if it's WBD or if it's DIS, you're buying Class A shares, meaning you have rights to profits if they declare dividends. You get to enjoy capital appreciation if the stock, if the company gets more valuable over time. And most importantly, you get voting rights. Every share is a vote. You could buy 100 shares, you get 100 votes. Paramount, however, as we've been long pointing out, is very different. And that's what makes this so interesting and not surprising to me that there is some contention here. So if you're a Class A shareholder, your name is probably National Amusements, Sherry Redstone, Gabelli, the litigant involved in this one, or a handful of others. If you're like the overwhelming vast majority of people that own shares of Paramount, PARA, which is which you can publicly trade on like the NASDAQ, you're a Class B shareholder. You're entitled to capital appreciation of the stock if the company gets more valuable over time. They declare dividends, something like that. What you don't have the right to do is vote. So most of the shareholders obviously out there are Class B shareholders. And this is why Sherry Redstone is such a powerful force with Paramount CBS, because National Amusements owns something like 70% of all of the Class A shares of Paramount, meaning they have by far and away the most voting power. Whatever Sherry Redstone wants is what happens, and there's nobody else that can do anything about it. In this case, you have Gabelli, who is an institutional investor
right,
that owns, I believe, about 12% of the Class A shares. So besides National Amusements,
nice chunk.
it's a good chunk. Here's the deal. They own 12% of the Class A. They also have something like 900,000 B shares, Class B shares. So they have both. So they represent the Class B shareholders as well. They are the ones filing this action. And what it seems like they're doing right now, they have not filed a lawsuit yet. What they have done is they have written a request to the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, asking them to put a stay on transferring that very lucrative license, the thing that makes CBS CBS.
Right.
They're asking them to withhold the transfer of it for a period of time until they decide whether or not to file a lawsuit, which is what they're looking at now. So Paramount doesn't actually hold the FCC license. Actually, National Amusements holds the license. So, and they sublease it, if you will, if you think of it that way, to Paramount, to CBS to use. So it's part of the deal. Like if you just buy Paramount and CBS, but you don't also get that license because it's not owned by CBS.
Yeah.
If you don't get that license from Sherry, it's Paramount. Well, CBS is worthless, right? So they're not asking to stop the deal. They're not asking to do anything. All they're asking right now is to put the kibosh on it, which is kind of a smart way to go. Is you get the FCC to just say, we're in no hurry to affect the trade of this license, and they can sit on it. Now, what they're looking at in the lawsuit, if they go forward with a lawsuit, and this is why Gabelli's asking for this stay of execution, if it were, is that they are seemingly dissatisfied with the amount of information that has been provided on exactly how this deal is working, because according to Gabelli, they are alleging, or at least suggesting, that with what little information we have, things could sure be mistaken to be something not right here. And that is Sherry Redstone and the Class A shareholders, which they are a part of, again, are they being radically more compensated than the Class B shareholders? Because, again, they go back and they say, we had offers from other places that were effectively going to pay the same cash price for Class A and B shares. Is that happening here? Basically, did Class B shareholders really get the best deal? Or did you truck them over for this because Sherry Redstone was going to get more money than in what could have been perhaps a more equitable deal for all the shareholders? Again, we don't know the answers to this yet.
But that was something that kept coming up, though, earlier on, is like there was a lot of shareholders who were saying those very things to the press.
Right. And we can only assume right now, and again, I think this is part of, if you go through the article, this seems to be part of Gabelli's complaint, is that there doesn't seem to be enough transparency. There's not enough daylight hitting the details of this deal, and they would like to know more. Again, the problem is that they can't, in and of themselves, stop the deal because of the power that National Amusement has with 70% or whatever it is of the A shares. The only person that could actually stop a deal at this point would be a federal regulator, and whether that's the Federal Communication Commission delaying the transfer of the license, the Federal Trade Commission stepping in saying we don't like this deal, regulatory oversight, or it could be, in this case, if they file a lawsuit, it could be a judge sitting in a courtroom, probably go to federal. I'm not a lawyer. I'd ask Ron this question, but I don't know if this would be like in California state court or if this would be in a federal court. I would imagine federal court because of the licensure involved with this, like with the FCC. But a judge could temporarily delay the deal while the case is heard. We just don't know yet. But yeah, all signs kind of point to, and I think we all knew this was going to get litigated. This was going to get fought out.
Right. We all knew this was going to be like a long. But let's flip this over just a little bit, and then we'll turn it over to everybody else for thoughts. Like, so what Valiant do you think is the repercussions if they are able to put a halt on this? And I'm not saying they will or won't find any shenanigans involved as far as, when they do some kind of further investigation of the details and the financial situation, because I believe that's what this is all about, right? Is they want to take a deeper look into things because things aren't adding up, is what it's. And again, this kind of is. Look, I think there's a lot of smoke here to something. It doesn't smell right. It hasn't smelled right since the start.
No.
So
No.
what do you think the chances of, or what do you think is probably most probable to happen in the next, say, year or two? Because that's probably how long it's probably going to take, wouldn't you say?
Well, I mean, first thing I'm looking at is what's going to happen in the next 30 days. So the FCC is either going to comply with the request of Gabelli or they aren't. And if they aren't, then that might precipitate Gabelli to really step up and just go, let's file the lawsuit then, because then we'll have a better chance of putting a stop on it. And of course, what they're looking for is, look, there's nothing that says that Sherry Redstone shouldn't or couldn't be justifiably compensated for her and her family's and for really National Amusements ownership of the A shares. But you still have SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission regs that you have to deal with. And as it is a publicly traded company, one of the things is always the fiduciary responsibility of the board and the owners of the company, at least the ones in control, like at the board at the executive level, should always be acting in the best interest of all the owners. And the question is going to be, Your Honor, we don't believe that the deal they took from Skydance was the best deal. It wasn't even remote. It wasn't even the second best deal. It wasn't even remotely. We had other offers out there from other places that were offering the Class B shareholders far more money. The assumption of the debt, which there is a significant amount of at Paramount, cash for everybody. We don't feel like we're getting anywhere near that same deal with Skydance. We would like the Redstone family and National Amusements to explain themselves. That's what they're looking for. So it's, they're going to be challenging it, I would presume, on the basis of, whatever sections of SEC regulations that are going to pertain to, an M&A like this, mergers and acquisitions.
All right. So what's your guys' take on this? CC, what do you make of all this?
Well, I'm not a financial guy, but in general, I'm usually opposed to mergers. I like to have more companies, not less. I'm a gamer, right? So my favorite company growing up was Squaresoft. Mm-hmm. And that's the first thing that comes to mind, because they had a lot of splitting of their talent, and they also had mergers involved, right? So, but back in the days like Final Fantasy VII, their most famous game, they were Squaresoft. And they also had a lesser known, still well-known game if you're a fan of their company at the time, called Xenogears. And the creators of Xenogears, they wanted to create Xenogears 2. But in order to get Xenogears 2, they had to sell 1 million copies. They sold 950,000. And so that lead creative, he went into the office and he said, well, can I get my Xenogears 2? I intended this to be a 6-part saga. And the CEO said, no, I'm sorry, we can't do it. So this lead creative, who had the respect of most of the best talent at the company of Squaresoft, he took their best talent and he marched out and he created Monolith Soft, who you might best know nowadays, not just for the Xeno franchise, but for creating Breath of the Wild. Many of the creatives at Monolith Soft were actually involved in that game. Mm-hmm. So, meanwhile, Squaresoft almost we've seen a lot of stories about that company getting wrecked for DEI lately. DEI is not the first mistake they made, right? They got a history of mistakes along those lines, and that was really their biggest one. That's when they had to merge with Enix, who was also a company who made great games. Now we didn't have Squaresoft and Enix anymore. We had Square Enix, just one company, and we lost that kind of the good kind of diverse talent of different approaches, different kind of video games that both companies could create independently. They used to be different. There was a big difference between Squaresoft games and Enix games. And then they just became Square Enix. They were never really as good as each company was independently. They got eaten up by Electronic Arts for a while, right? Which definitely didn't help. So I'm not a fan of seeing multiple approaches and identities become swallowed up in the big monstrous glom. I do generally prefer to see smaller companies thrive, let's say.
And that would be great. And, in the video game world, here's the difference, and I think it's a good comparison to kind of illustrate why I think what you're saying works in one place, maybe not another. Like having many smaller game studios, there is a huge market for that. You can do mobile gaming, you can do console gaming, you can do PC gaming. There's games now being made for Netflix apps. You've got Apple has their own arcade. There's lots of different facets out there for game makers, and it's something that is very frequently consumed. New products constantly come out. People that want them are always looking for something new. The problem is right now, the only way to have anybody survive in the long run when it comes especially to television is to merge. It is a dying industry, and we are watching the revenues just shrivel up year after year after year. Warner Brothers, Paramount, even Disney's television side of things, everybody out there is shrinking. It is a dying market, and that is because of the, like we always talk about the secular headwinds, right? That's streaming, that's cord cutting. The traditional model for, we would sign contracts with every broadcast cable provider out there, Spectrum, Charter, Comcast, whatever, DirecTV and Dish. Hey, look, they're merging. They have to. The days of that are shrinking. We've gone from having 100 million people plus, or 100 million households paying a cable bill in this company just 10 years ago to now it's almost down to 60 million. And that rate is accelerating each year. It's moving to streaming. And so Netflix has consumed a lot of that. And all these studios are moving into streaming models. So when you have broadcast television, and those are the ones I want to key in on, right? If you're Fox and you own a broadcast station, you're Paramount, you own CBS. You're Disney, you own ABC. You're Comcast, you own NBC. You're vulnerable there, those traditional delivery models. That's why they've been working to try to change them. Some have been more successful than others, but the reality is if you're a Paramount and you're frankly the weakest of the bunch, Paramount, CBS, they're not merging with another broadcaster. And if they were, they'd never do it because they know the FCC and the FTC would probably throw it out, right? Like Disney couldn't buy up Paramount. That would never,
Right.
and keep the broadcast license. Would never be allowed, has a 0.
Well, that's the same thing they ran into with
Yeah.
Fox, right? That's
Right.
why Fox is still technically separate. Fox Television,
They bought
Fox
the movie
News,
studio.
Fox Sports, all that stuff's still separate from them because they had ESPN, they had ABC, they had, stuff like that. So they couldn't keep them. But yeah.
That's why something like Skydance worked, because Skydance was just a Hollywood movie studio. And they merged in with another company that was older, arguably, especially with the library, much bigger, and could provide a lot of synergy of cost. Because there's a lot of overhead and repetitive things between two companies like this that can be eliminated over time.
Right. Well, that was another reason why Zaslav was looking at them too, because it also put
I think Zaslav
Warner
still is.
Brothers on the television map. Yeah.
I keep saying he will. Like, as soon as this deal closes, if this deal closes, I think one of the first people, and they probably have already talked, is going to be David Zaslav coming in saying, hey, Larry, David, I know you guys don't want to run a TV station. I do. Because Warner Brothers still wants to be a big player in sports, and after they lost their future contract with the NBA, and that's going to go away, the best thing for Warner Brothers to do right now would be to come in and scoop up CBS, the broadcast television, after the merger, after Skydance takes Paramount, take CBS, because with CBS comes a score of sports contracts already locked in, including the biggest one of all, the AFC, half of the NFL. That's what you want. That's what Zaslav wants.
And there's a few of their cable networks and other things too that they could clear up if they did that, like with the the UPN deal's dead, but that, they had Comedy Central and some other stuff that I think they could clear up.
Oh, yeah.
That's one thing that they're still going to court over fucking South Park.
Well, look at Warner Brothers' earnings call last week. I didn't get to cover it because I was too tired. It was
I
Thursday
didn't hear
morning.
I didn't hear it either.
They made $289 million this quarter with streaming, Max and Discovery.
Yeah, and not only
Profit.
that, Zaslav was one of the first ones to come out last week and say it's a good thing that Trump won. So we at least know, as far as studio-wise, he's one of the people that's, as I've been trying to tell people, he is conservative, right? And I didn't say he was going to clean the woke out of the studio, but he was going to go in a more conservative direction.
Yeah, I mean he's more to the right, and they added 7 million subs in the quarter to Max, which is huge, and probably a lot of that had to do with House of the Dragon.
Probably.
And then the other side of the thing is
And Penguin, don't forget that.
yeah,
helped,
there's
I'm
that
sure.
too, right? Well, no, Penguin started after.
Oh, that was after that. Okay.
Didn't Penguin?
They
Well,
just finished, so
the fiscal quarter ended September 30th.
Oh,
so
okay.
it was
Yeah, I don't
probably,
think that
probably
started yet.
It started maybe
it
right the
had.
last week or two.
Either way, he was also smart enough to make none of these shows HBO Max exclusives and make them both simultaneous HBO and HBO Max.
There's not
a
I don't think there's a single thing.
There's only like a handful of things I think that are still Max only.
Yeah, I don't think much of
smaller
anything.
things,
Because
yeah.
that's why things like when you look at the Luminate charts for Variety, you'll never see House of the Dragon show up, and they're like, "Oh, House of the Dragon sucked, didn't even make the top 10."
No,
no,
it's 'cause
House
it's
of
an
the Dragon
HBO show.
Yeah, it's not an original Max programming. Neither's Penguin. That's why Penguin doesn't show up in those charts, I think, either. So it's the way they work it. But Zaslav, they are. I don't think it's an accident. I know they're trying to pay down debt, but their free cash
it's still
flow
a
is getting
long
better.
shot,
And well, no, this is the thing though, is that they're building up a nice little hoard of cash right now. Hint, hint, hint.
Yeah, I know. You and I agree on this,
Yeah.
although I just got to say, to just kind of hedge our bets, it's still possibly a long shot. I'm just curious
This has
to
to
see
clear
how this
first.
goes.
This
Yeah.
hurdle, all the stuff with Zach, I think he wants to do it. I know it's in the back of his mind, but he's going to have to sit here and wait and be at the mercy of whatever happens with this situation that he has no control over right now.
Yeah.
So
So, any of you guys got any takes on this? Nick, you got anything?
I mean, my take is nothing all different from CC's. I mean, it kind of brings it back to something I've said a few times is I'm just not really for yet another merger. This is just setting more precedent just to keep these types of same companies afloat and not let anything pop up that could be considered competition. I'm tired of the mergers. I mean, I'm not saying all bad things are come from it. Of course, there could be some good to come from it, but the mergers is just too much. Someone needs to learn that, hey, not everything needs to stay alive and floating. Something can come and take its place, and we need that right now more than ever. That's kind of where I just simply am with it.
Yeah, lack of competition does not breed much innovation. Isn't that right, Price? What's your take on this?
I think that the main problem is, and I've said it from day one, Sherry is really annoying. It feels like she begrudgingly is doing these deals. She never even wanted any of these mergers, and she doesn't even like being in this position. And when somebody is doing something, she already has a ton of money, her family has a ton of money. When somebody is doing things with this kind of grudge, this kind of begrudgingly doing it, this is the result. At some points, I feel like she pretended she was negotiating with people just so people wouldn't file lawsuits like this, but she actually didn't care about those deals. Even this final one that she seemingly went through, do I think she's sitting around with a champagne bottle all excited about this deal? I don't feel that she is. And that's what I think is at the core, the biggest problem that they've had, all these investors until now. Because like I said, they're dealing with a very wealthy woman who's, not really thinking about them at all.
Yeah, that's the sad part about it. I mean,
a lot of it is her ego.
Yeah, well, she fucked up her dad's legacy. She screwed up arguably one of the most powerful television stations in history. And I mean, Paramount was already on a downward spiral before she took over, but she did not help. And then they're selling it now to the same people who helped put them in the position they're in. So I really don't understand this line of thought other than she just wants to get out now before she dies and come out on some kind of like win. And I think you're right. Like, she didn't give a fuck about anybody else but herself in this equation. And it's going to come back to bite her in the ass, I think. And that's what I think a lot of this is about. But I'll give the final thought on this to Valiant, and then we'll move on to the next story.
No, I think we've said it all here. This is going to be a wait and see kind of thing.
Right.
I don't know how. I don't know how compliant the FCC is to requests like this. I mean, they may or may not be. You got to imagine, I mean, how often does the Federal Communication Commission have a public broadcasting license like this come up at this scale? Once in a lifetime? I mean, when's the last?
Yeah.
When's the last time a public
probably when
broadcasting
Disney bought
license?
ABC, I would imagine.
25 years ago? 20, 30,
Yeah.
30 years ago. 30 years ago. Yeah. So that might be the last time. Because again,
Or wait, when did Comcast buy Universal NBC?
oh, that's true. Yeah.
When was that? That might have been after that. That might. I
10,
think that was like 90. Or was that? I thought it was in the 90s. But
maybe
I
it was 20. It was 20 years ago now. Now I don't remember. It's been
Somebody
a
in the
while.
chat might remember, but
Yeah, I
yeah,
have to
you're
look it
right.
up.
It's been that long since either one of those. So yeah,
It's like a generational thing, right? You had those two happen within 5 or 10 years with ABC and then NBC, and then it kind of parks itself. And now here we are 30 years later, 25, 30 years later. Here's the next generation where it's changing hands again. You can have you can have CBS now, maybe twice if it jumps to Skydance and then jumps to Warner Brothers. I don't know. But see, I can't imagine this guys at Skydance are going to give a crap about operating a broadcast license. So
yeah, we'll have to see. All right. Well, this next bit of news also is kind of in your purview. We do have now more information on the Star Wars trilogy with Simon Kinberg involved. It will be a Rey franchise film.
I liked the Variety article where they said that executives at Disney and Lucasfilm were surprised by the announcement. That was today.
Sounds
too,
accurate.
I think. Yeah, that's
well,
that
I'm
was
starting to
actually in
think
the
more and
Variety
more it's
article.
coming from Kinberg's camp, but
Yeah, probably.
regardless,
But
let's see what they have to say.
I've been wanting
here.
to talk about this like the last two live shows, and then I would we're out of time because I'm like, I just don't care anymore.
Well,
It's so stupid.
it is, but
I know. I'm going to talk about it tomorrow. So
we'll get into this real quick. Forget the Death Star. The most coveted weapon in the Star Wars movie arsenal is the character of Rey Skywalker, according to this.
Ray
I mean-
Palpatine.
Yeah, since November. If you take it in the sense that she can destroy shit, yes.
yeah, destroy Star Wars.
Since November 7th revealed that Simon Kinberg had signed on to develop and write and produce Star Wars trilogy for Lucasfilm at Disney, debate has focused on whether or not it would be a continuation of the so-called ninth film in it was a knock. There you go. So-called ninth film in the Skywalker saga, tying it to the legacy of Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader, in the storyline first laid out by George Lucas in 1977. The reason for the debate is the new hoped-for trilogy would feature Rey in some form or fashion.
Why? Why
Some
would it be
fan-
hoped?
I don't think anybody hoped.
Yeah.
The new hoped-for trilogy.
Oh, the
I
new
think the
hoped-for
trilogy
trilogy.
is hoped for, but she is not so
Gotcha.
necessarily.
I don't know who hoped for a new trilogy.
Because they say here, some fans have expressed criticism that Lucasfilm would return to the well to make episodes, as they are called, beyond the 9 movies that comprise the Skywalker story, which had been billed as concluding with the rise of Palpatine.
There were 6 episodes in the sky. Never mind.
3, if you ask me. But anyway,
So
but Rey
yeah,
and
that's true.
Scavenger
But
turned-
6 is an acceptable answer. So,
It is an acceptable answer.
Yeah.
But Rey, the scavenger turned Jedi, played by Daisy Ridley in the last 3 episodes movies, is the key to the franchise's next turn. That
Mhm.
potentially puts Kinberg's trilogy story development as early in its conceptual stages as it may be, on a collision course with the Rey standalone movie that is actively in the works with director Charmaine Obaid-Chinoy.
Which makes even less sense.
Yeah, I know. I think these are the same project, to be honest with you.
Either
That
that or Charmino Obaid-Chinoy is out.
That's what I'm saying. Either
Yeah.
one or the other.
She was never going to get a movie. Charmin lady
Yeah.
they never planned to give her a movie. I never believed it.
Oh, Kathy absolutely planned to give her a
Oh,
movie.
but I feel like Bob Iger mobilized Favreau and immediately squashed that. He wanted to combat the narrative, and until this day, I feel like he to himself said that he's never going to let that movie happen.
Well, on the
Well-
note of what Valiant and I were just saying here, it says, perhaps that is why Lucasfilm was receptive to Kinberg's multi-story pitch. Anything to move Rey forward.
yeah.
But it does engender rumors in the Star Wars underground of filmmakers jostling for characters. I feel like the new ones will be interesting times. Oh, this is just her old shit. So anyway, you were saying Valiant.
I was going to say, I think there's a little bit of truth to each side of things. First of all, let's, roll the time machine back. November of 22, Bob Iger comes back, right? What's one of the first things that he did? Grabbed Kathleen Kennedy and said, you need to get Star Wars back into theaters now. Go. That's it. That was her assignment, right? And it doesn't take much to really sit there and be able to take that from, yes, we heard that from pretty reliable sources, to that's a very, very reasonable thing. It would be really stupid if Bob Iger did not do something like that, right? Because at that point, Star Wars was so far behind the eight ball. It was a dead and dying brand at that point. Merchandise sales even have fallen off. The only thing that still sells for Star Wars anymore really is Legos, and that's because it's Lego, and they're selling Death Stars and Millennium Falcons. They're selling George Lucas Star Wars Legos, the stuff that people still want. So whether out of that came the decision, where Kathy said, okay, we're going to have, we now have a train of 27 different writers going to come in and out of here. I'm not going to like anything they have to say because it's not like Kathy knows what she's doing. And the project keeps falling apart, and Charmin Obaid-Chinoy is a lightning rod and an idiot. And nobody who's remotely qualified to direct a movie like this, let's be honest. And Disney has also seen what has happened with Marvel in the last 3 years since Phase 4 began. When you give $200 million plus to these independent documentary filmmakers that have no business being on a set of this scale, these things have all turned into massive train wrecks. So maybe they don't want the same thing happening again at Lucasfilm. So I can believe that maybe somebody else talked to somebody and said, maybe we're going to make this Charmin Obaid-Chinoy thing. Now that Stephen Knight has pieced out, which you knew he would, now that he's gone, maybe that was a window to open up and say, hey, let's go bring somebody else in. I just found it interesting that, quote unquote, you don't know who these people are, but according to the Variety article, I think also from today or maybe yesterday, where they said that according to them, they spoke to Disney executives who were a little surprised when the news broke about this a few days earlier because they weren't aware of it. Now, there's only a few people that would be aware of it maybe at that stage of the game when they had just talked to this person. That would be Kennedy herself, of course. Then there would be Alan Bergman and Bob, and that's about it. So I don't know who these executives were, unnamed executives from Lucasfilm and Disney, according to what Variety said. But this is just, I think Variety even used the term or the phrase, this is in deep development, meaning like somebody just had an idea about this last Tuesday. That's the impression I got from the article. If you go find the article, you see what I'm talking about. I can't remember the name of it or the title.
I don't believe any project anymore until I see that somebody has released a trailer for something, anything, maybe leaked photos from a set that they're actually filming something.
If camera's rolling, then I believe it. I said the same thing about The Acolyte a few years ago. So once cameras started rolling, I'm
surprisingly,
like,
this is not on their main page, so I'm like not finding
right.
it.
Valiant. There were situations that people were saying, "Well, the Acolyte isn't real," but when I saw set photos,
Right.
and there were like people filming on the
back
set of
down
the
that road.
Acolyte,
Yeah.
I believe.
I'll never forget that episode. What a memorable time. The Acolyte's not real until it was.
Something that I have strictly observed is I've been getting into Mark Thompson lately. I can't believe I didn't realize this guy was as amazing as he is until recently. But I discovered him through his audio books of the expanded universe, like full production sound effects. He does all the character voices. He's amazing. He's one of the most important people in Star Wars now that I realize it. If you don't know Mark Thompson, look him up, right? But after Disney bought Star Wars, they shifted him from doing expanded universe novels to doing pretty strictly Disney novels for many years. That was kind of that's a total waste of talent, right? So you have this amazing guy and you're wasting him on the Disney stuff. But what I realized when I started looking into it is in the last couple of years in particular, they've shifted him back to doing expanded universe novels. They got him doing all the Rogue Squadron stuff, and it feels like they're leading up to doing New Jedi Order because they're doing they have him now doing the books that kind of split the time, like the gap in the timeline between Rogue Squadron and New Jedi Order, right? Mm-hmm. There's a couple of in-betweens there.
Well, that was going to be the Rey movie, right? That was going to be the New Jedi Order thing.
So on the one hand, you have this Rey movie that's supposed to hijack the new Jedi Order. On the other hand, you have Mark Thompson, who's clearly under contract to do all these novels leading up to New Jedi Order in the old expanded universe, the real canon. And you have to think that those are selling well because they continue to do it. And that they're going to now contract him to do the actual New Jedi Order series, which is going to release over the next several years. And in conflict with this. So I think there's got to be different perspectives going on behind the scenes at Lucasfilm right now. Maybe you got this group who really wants to push this agenda, but you also have people who know what sells and want to push the good stuff that people actually want to buy, and that they are contracting this man who is freaking clearly legendary at doing audiobooks for Star Wars. Like, he is the voice. He's the voice of Thrawn, right? If you listen to this, it's like, yeah, he is the voice of Thrawn. He's the voice of all your favorite characters when you think about it. And it feels like they're leading, I could be wrong, but it feels like they're leading up to contracting him to do this series of novels for the next several years. And they're going to sell well. And that's, far more interesting than this crap.
Yeah. I was going to say, are you looking forward to the Rey trilogy, though? The second Rey trilogy?
I'm looking forward to Mark Thompson doing those 19 novels. I'll buy them. I'll buy them every time they come out.
Look, they want to put them out there and finish burning it to the ground. We'll be happy to make the YouTube videos laughing at it happening, because I mean, there's nothing else we can do at this point but laugh at it, because I'm done with being sad over it. I'm done with crying over it. They've broken it so badly, and like I've said before, the problem is that, like the Mando movie, I'm going to be surprised if that really does well. It's going to have to be a hell of a good movie, number one. It is going to have to be like groundbreaking, like, oh my God, this is amazing, because that's probably going to be the only thing that's going to bail it out from the sheer apathy that has taken over Star Wars fandom, because they've had so many trash products for so long. They just don't care anymore. They're not even willing to give it a shot. I mean, yeah, it'll probably do, 5, 6, 7, maybe $800 million in the box office, but still might just be enough to cover its bills to shoot it and market it. But as far as it being a huge smash, like, is it going to be Deadpool and Wolverine? Hell no. I
don't even know half of
it.
that, Valiant. Yeah. Seriously,
that's why I said 700-800 million. Yeah, I don't think otherwise, unless it is so good that it's going to reawaken people's enjoyment and they're going to want to go see it again and again. I just don't think, after seeing Mando season 3, I know we talked about this a bunch. How do you go from that, and then you're going to put out Mando season 3, have a 2-year break, and then expect people to show up for the next chapter of Jack Black and Lizzo? I mean, what the hell are we doing?
I think I know what they're going to end up doing. They'll use some kind of CGI and claim that they have a reunion of Han, Luke, and Leia, and they're going to try to push that or somehow get people excited about something like that in the trailer or whatever it is, just thinking that it'll be like season 2, the ending of The Mandalorian, where Luke comes back. Maybe Jon Favreau is going to think, well, I pulled that trick once, maybe I can pull it again. I don't think it's going to be enough. I think that people are going to see through it, but maybe some normies that are confused and don't know what's up will think that they're actually getting that.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't. But I mean, look, I said this, like I said, a couple of years ago with The Acolyte when all this was going on. And I said, nah, these rumors are not lining up with reality. And I'm like, if cameras start rolling, then I'm believe it's a real show. And a couple months later, cameras started rolling. That was it. So same thing here. The same thing is true. I said the same thing about the Mando and Grogu movie, even though, Jon Favreau's doing it. I'm like, I get it. This is still Disney. This is still Kennedy Lucasfilm. It is an issue of just complete and utter borderline, criminal negligence, mismanagement. It's ridiculous. Until cameras start rolling, I'm not going to believe Mando and Grogu. Well, obviously they've been rolling. So, I mean, at first, if anything was going to have a chance of getting made, it was going to be that movie. But I still wanted to see cameras rolling. But with with cameras, I don't think they have cameras rolling on anything right now other than the movie. There's no other Disney Star Wars Plus shows. Andor season 2, right? But I think beyond that, I don't think there's really anything that's actually going into production. Maybe Ahsoka season 2, but there's nothing really new. Mando is going to be finito at the end of the movie. That's going to be the end of it. And we got a list of all these movies allegedly maybe someday will come out of Lucasfilm, but we've been hearing that for years.
Was Ahsoka season 2 even greenlit? Like, I saw that did worse in the ratings even than Andor. And you honestly, I mean, to be fair, you would think that would have done better than Andor.
It might not. I mean, Ahsoka had better
I think it
viewership
might
than
be
Andor.
I think it's on the table just because I think they need it to